In today's show, Jake Madison of Locked On Pelicans joins the program, and we talk about, yes, Zion Williamson and his potential getting traded to Portland. Is that a real thing that could happen? Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, world? It's past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter Mike Richmond. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen, coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's program, it's one you're going to love, or at least I'm going to love doing it. My friend and yours, the host of Locked On Pelicans, Jake Madison, joins the program. We're going to talk about all things Zion Williamson. What the heck is even going on in New Orleans? And could Zion end up in the Rose City, where he sort of maybe almost did a few years ago? Jake, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Yeah, there was some real truth to those rumors a couple of years ago. So, yeah, we're going to get into it again today. This is fun. I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say this is probably a little old hat for you, but let me start here. What the hell's going on with the Pelicans? Like, what is they have a new GM, they've got a new president of basketball operations, they've got a whole new front office, they've got the same coach. What's going on?
So the GM's the same. That part's actually good. I want them to keep their same GM. Bryson Graham, I think he's good. But basically everything's going to be kind of different here. Look, whenever you can hire the last two people, more or less, that ran the Detroit Pistons, who finally won their first playoff game in 21 years, you've got to do it, right? And that's exactly what the Pelicans have done. So they hired Louisiana native, not even New Orleans native, Joe Dumars, to be their new executive vice president of basketball operations. Then kind of out of nowhere hired Troy Weaver to be the senior vice president of basketball operations here, him of the 74 and 244 wins and losses record with the Detroit Pistons over 4 years. But they're good now, so maybe he had a hand in that. I don't know, man. Like, truthfully, this is just ownership kind of being lazy here in New Orleans is what it is. And ownership kind of sick of what they had done before, kind of bringing in like an outsider in David Griffin, someone like kind of not outside of like one of their people. And Joe Dumars has been a friend of ownership and some high-level people within ownership for a number of years now. He'd been linked to the team for like literally almost every year for the past 10 years. It finally happened this year, be the change you want to see in the world. And that's where we are. And it's fun times in New Orleans.
So part of this hiring seems to be that there are some marching orders for Joe Dumars. In fact, before we started recording this, you're listening, dear listeners, to Friday, April 25th show. I saw Willie Green in the Saints draft room on the first night of the NFL.
Oh, was he? I didn't even see that.
Yeah, so
we're watching playoff basketball, but that's something.
Willie Green's in the building, right? Like, I would say Willie's space is fairly comfortable, but there seems to be some marching orders, and there's been some reporting out of New Orleans that says keep Willie, trade Zion. How real is that?
The keep Willie Green one is very real. Ownership, Gail Benson likes him, thinks he's a nice guy, wants to keep him. And look, like while I don't think Willie Green is a top coach in the league, truthfully, and I think they should make a move and make a change there, he hasn't coached a fully healthy roster ever. Right. So do we actually know if he's a fully good coach or not? I think the jury can still be out on that. So I think they want to give him at least one more year and give him one more shot to coach a healthy team to kind of like show what he is. But when you have Zion Williamson missing a ton of games, Brandon Ingram missing a ton of games, like, we don't fully know. It's like an incomplete grade on him. The other big rumor is kind of their frustration, let's call it, with Zion Williamson, both with the missing of games and the off-court drama, sex scandals, if you will, whatever word you want to use there for those sorts of things, including a recent one, right? Where like, a woman associated with Zion attacked another woman associated with Zion. And while Zion himself did not do anything with that, it's stuff that he's kind of these situations that he is the center of when it comes to it. And ownership is just kind of fed up with it. Right. And I think it's one of those things where if he was playing games, you kind of live with that sort of thing, but he's not. So that's where this is kind of coming from. I don't think they're 100% certain on trading Zion Williamson, but I think they really want to kind of kick around that idea and see if you can generate a trade or something along those lines, for him, if you can make something happen and get the right kind of return.
I want to talk about the return, but first of all, it is not a crime to have atypical romantic and sexual life. That might be something that doesn't play well in the public eye, but literally not.
No, like nothing's illegal, nothing's a crime here. Like nothing is even like truthfully, none of this is like morally wrong in my opinion. Kind of what he's doing here. No one's married, no one's messy. Cheating. Yeah, it's messy. And look, you can put up with mess when a guy's making all NBA teams, all-star games, playing 70 plus games a year. But when someone plays 30 games a year, is maybe not in the best shape that he should be in, you wonder how that stuff's impacting him in a negative way. And that's where this starts to come in, I think.
Okay. So there's a world in which Zion Williamson is back on the Pelicans, right? That you said they just want to explore it. It's maybe not full on marching orders, but you think that this will be okay. Go ahead.
There's a chance he's back. If I were to put it, it's probably 50-50 whether he's back or traded right now. It's kind of like the odds I would throw on it.
So I want to, before we get into like the trade packages and what they would want and how it would work here, Zion's good, right? Like he's still pretty good at basketball. Because I feel like some of this is coming because I think there are some conversations about all of the other stuff and the conditioning and the missing games, but it's like when he plays, he's still pretty good. Even this year, he wasn't as good as he has been this year, but he's still a pretty good basketball player. Am I crazy, Jake?
No, I actually think this was the best year that he's had. Truthfully, like I think this is the best we've ever seen Zion Williamson when he played this year for the most part. Now it was on a minutes restriction, right? Like he didn't play above 30 minutes per game this year, but it's 24.5 points per game. It was 7.2 rebounds, which ties his career high. It was 5.3 assists, which is a career high for him. 1.2 steals, career high. Basically a block per game, career high. Like these numbers are really good when you look at it. 8 free throw attempts per game in under 30 minutes. When you look at his per 36 minute numbers, right, compared it to his other seasons, this is the most points per game he's ever scored. It's the most rebounds he's ever had per game and the most assists per game. Right? Like those numbers are pretty outstanding. Per 36 minutes, it's 10 free throw attempts per game from one dude. Like those are really incredible numbers. And when you look at him, he's not just a scorer. This is a guy that you can kind of run as a point forward. They call it point Zion, who can pass and assist. His vision's really good. The thing that impressed me, so all those numbers are great, right? Like any team would take that kind of guy here. What impressed me the most was this was the most engaged we've seen him defensively. And so whenever people are like, is Zion turning a corner? Is he bought in? Is he doing all the things he needs to do? Right? Whenever you look at a player, it's like, are they trying on defense? Do they care on defense? Because if they do, that takes energy away from them being good offensive players, right? And Zion's an offensive player. He doesn't need to try on defense. Go out and score 30 points per game. We don't care what you do on the defensive side of the ball then when that's the case. But he was actively trying in a way that I had never seen him before on the defensive side of the ball. And that says something there. That says, hey, you can't go all out on both defense and offense unless you're in good shape kind of thing. So there's an asterisk to all of this here, right? Like all that sounds great. There's two things that don't sound great. The first one is 30 games. That's what he played in an 82-game season, right? When you look at his career here and how many games he's played, he's only played 60 or more games twice, including a season where he didn't play at all. And this is his 6th year in the league. And 2 of those 6, he's played 60 or more games. That's a huge problem, right? The best ability is availability sometimes, and Zion has failed that test every single part of it. And we mentioned him looking really good, playing really good. That was only later in the season. The beginning part of the year, the first couple of games he played before that hamstring injury, he was out of shape. He looked like he did not take the offseason seriously. And then he plays himself into game shape, and then he's incredible when he does that. But that usually comes in January or later. So the first 2-3 months of the season, you're just not getting that version of him. And then he hits it and he goes. Those are the two things that are big concerns, despite all the numbers that, like, when he does play, though, he is a massively impactful in a good way player.
Yeah, I think he's like one of the 15 best players in the league when he's right. Like I think he's that good. I really do. It's just when thing is a big deal. And his effective field goal percentage was like a career low this year, not way lower than his other years. Like he was right around what he was a couple seasons ago. But I'm saying, like, from my outside perspective, why I said I thought he had like kind of a down years because the efficiency drops a little bit. And they played 2 of those games in Portland. They played a set in Portland
right
early
at the beginning of the year.
and they looked awful. They looked so.
They split those games, right? And
yeah,
then
they split those games. It was like a close game and then a blowout, and it was
and the one they won was almost like a fluke, and it's like they shouldn't have won that game.
Yeah, Blazers kind of gave it away, and then they came back. It was like a Friday, Sunday, and then on Sunday they just beat the snot out of like a totally healthy Pelicans team, and it was like, yo, what? Like, what is this group? Like, what is this team? So like to hear you say like it took another 25 games from that point to like get going. I think I saw that. I think I got to see it up close. I want to ask you a little bit because Zion has he has a unique situation. Part of his deal is that because of his conditioning, there is a unique contract situation with him, which I do think impacts some of the trade talk a little bit, but I think it's
so we'll get into that. I think that's an interesting thing, and I'll shed some light on that.
Okay, let's talk trade situation and what the Pelicans might want in a trade. We'll do that in the second segment. Join us there, won't you? First, though, let's talk Monarch money. Look, sometimes you might look at your bank account and you're like, yo, where is all of my money? Where did it go? Because you're dining out, you're buying stuff online, you're entertaining yourself and having fun. It's easy to lose track, and Monarch Money is here to help you. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, all your investments, all of your spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and you start building your wealth. It's a way to get rid of the multiple app juggling act. So you can use Monarch Money to check on all aspects of your finances and even plan your long-term goals. And what's nice about Monarch Money is it's not just planning a single goal. Monarch Money lets you put multiple buckets in there. So if you got a short-term goal, something you'll say you want to buy at the end of May, well, get on it. You could do that with Monarch Money. Or if you've got a bigger goal in mind, saving up for a new car, a new boat, a new house, whatever it might be, Monarch Money will help you do that as well. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, and the code is LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. All right, still chatting here with Jake Madison of Locked On Pelicans. Jake, let's talk Zion's contract situation, because I think from the outside, people make it out like, well, it's this non-guaranteed thing. You can just cut bait whenever. Set the record straight. How does the contract actually work here?
Yeah, so there's basically triggers clauses in it that non-guarantee the deal. So most NBA contracts are fully guaranteed, meaning if you cut that player, you still got to pay the whole thing essentially, right? And when people hear buyouts and things like that, that's the player reducing the amount of money the team needs to pay them to be able to go get somewhere else, and it's like giving money back to the team essentially, right? Like there's some misnomers around that sort of thing. There's every now and then you see some unguaranteed deals, usually for kind of role player guys or the final year of a deal that could be guaranteed or not, depending. And if it's unguaranteed, you can cut them and you don't have to pay them the money. Zion, based on the number of games played, certain weight clauses and things like that as well in there, can kind of lower the guaranteed amount. Here's what I say to all of that. None of this matters. Zion is going to get every penny of the contract he's on, because the only way, so what this does not do, it does not take a guy, if their deal's unguaranteed, from a $30 million to like a $15 million player if $15 million is non-guaranteed. It just means if you cut the guy, you don't need to pay him the other $15 million. But if they stay on your roster past usually a certain date, you got to pay him every penny. This is the same thing on Zion Williamson's contract. Yeah, some of it might be unguaranteed. That only matters if you cut him. And no team's going to cut Zion Williamson. No team that trades for Zion Williamson and gives up picks, players, whatever combination of that is going to be like, oh, you know what? That didn't work out. Let's just waive him. Right? Like that's a sunk cost. Sunk cost fallacy is a very real thing in the NBA. Like no team's going to do that. You're going to try and make it work with Zion Williamson, just as the Pelicans have for the past 6 years when it hasn't quite worked. So a lot of people make a big deal about this contract, and I'm just sitting here being like, none of this matters to me, is the best way to put it, if that makes sense.
Well, also, it's like, I think the guarantees are like, it's only guaranteed down to 40% or something like that. It's a $40 million contract. Like no team is going to eat $18 million unless it's unless it really goes south. And it's not, there's future years down the line too. And I don't think you get to eat all of it, like kill all of it at once. There isn't really an out necessarily.
No. It's really only there for like a catastrophic career-ending injury, which is kind of what they built into Joel Embiid's contract, where it's like, yeah, if he blows out his knee or has this injury and never plays again, we can waive him and we don't need to pay him. That's where that's valuable. But unless that happens, it's a whole lot of like talk, and it doesn't really matter to me.
Right. And the value of Zion is not such that like, well, don't worry, if he's hurt, you won't have to pay him. Like that's not actual upside.
No,
that's like,
so it's not like upside. If he, that year that he sat out the whole year, let's say that was this coming year, which hopefully not for whoever ends up with Zion or it stays in New Orleans. Like, it doesn't mean you don't pay him. It just means he didn't play for you if you keep him on the team.
So if the Pelicans were like, it seems to me, again, this is like outside perspective, that the Pelicans are like, they're deeply committed to winning 35 games. Like they want to win between 35 and 42 games. So help them God. And if they trick up into winning 48, that's going to be fun, but like, they're not going full rebuild, right? Like they're not going to go full rebuild. So if they were to trade Zion, what is it that they covet? Like, what are the types of things that they covet before we get into the specifics?
Yeah. So like, that's the part when I hear these rumors of, and talking to people around the team, like, we're fed up. We want to move, all that stuff. It's like, but they're like, we're not going to rebuild next year. And it's like, these two things are mutually exclusive, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you here, where it's like, if you trade Zion, you're not going to be good. So I think in theory, what they're hoping for is like a really big package of a return here. Right. And I'll throw a name or two out to you when we get to that point, but it's like, they're looking for a young player and some picks, right? Like kind of the standard superstar package of young player that you think you can be a core piece going forward, and a couple, a pick or two, even if they're lottery protected or something like that. And then you take our win now guy in Zion Williamson, and that's what we want in return. But we want someone that can contribute now, guys that can contribute now. And, the Pelicans might be looking at this, hopefully are looking at this a little bit different of like, maybe you give us 3 guys that just all play 82 games for our one that plays 30, and we should be better. Or they think they'll be better because of that. I don't think they actually will be better because of that, depending on the players that you get in return. But that's the logic behind it, right? He's missing so many games. If we get anything here, it's only going to make us better because we're plugging in the rest of those 52 games with people that are not the replacement. Like, there's a game at the end of the season where they were playing the Bucks and they played 8 players, 3 two-way guys, 2 10-day guys, so 3 real NBA players at that point in time. Like, you're not going to win games. But what if you put like 8 real NBA players? Could they have? That's probably their kind of logic on that sort of thing.
Yeah, and they would be comfortable being a team that chases the play in 2026. Like they're not. Yeah. They're
not
goals...
going. The plan is to not go through a rebuild in their mind, and let's push for the playoffs. Look, there's some talent on the roster. This was a team that won 49 games a year ago and looked good, and injuries were just obscene to this team this past year. Brandon Ingram, Zion, CJ, DeJounte Murray, like literally everyone got hurt. So I think they feel, let's just be healthy and make the playoffs next season.
Yeah, and they're going to get Cooper Flagg, right? And they'll be saved.
Joe Dumars just came from the league office, man. Why do you think they hired him?
Exactly. He's already rigged the pot.
Yeah,
he's already weighted it. I guess they do win the lottery with some regularity. If there's one thing the Pelicans get right consistently, it's winning the dang draft lottery. So
yeah, the Pelicans, the Cavs, right? We love number 1 overall picks that don't do it for us in the postseason and stuff.
Yeah, you just need your forgotten son to return home. Anthony Davis, come back. That's not a pitch for a New Orleans crowd. That's why we're not posting this on. That's why we're not posting this on your feed. Okay. Well, I have a trade pitch for you, but it sounds like you have some names for me. Throw me some names out here, and then let's get in. So, okay, let me set the stage. Real quick. A couple of years ago, the Blazers and Pelicans got pretty far down the line in discussing a Zion Williamson trade that would have centered around the number 3 overall pick, which was going to be like presumably Scoot or Brandon Miller, but it was the number 3 overall pick and Zion. That was what it was centered around. And you said on this very podcast, you were here on Locked On Blazers, and you said into that microphone, you might have upgraded your microphone since then, but you said into a microphone that the Pelicans were interested in being in the Scoot Henderson business, and if that had played out that way, then maybe those teams would talk. Things have changed. They have other players now. Are they still interested in that type of business?
So, that was a David Griffin thing, right? David Griffin loved Scoot Henderson, and loved the intangibles around Scoot Henderson. So I don't know if they necessarily want to be as in the Scoot Henderson business as they once did. If David Griffin were still here, I think they would be very much open to that. And I still think they might be open to that because, look, if we're going to throw names out, that's the name I'm probably starting with on this conversation of like, okay, if he's in the deal, like we can continue to add pieces to this and try and see if we can come to some sort of agreement. That was very much the David Griffin viewed him. And I don't know if we said it on the show, like, the Blazers got Zion Williamson's medicals. That was sent over to the Blazers in those discussions. That's how far that went there at that point in time.
Yeah,
too. That wasn't just like a casual conversation.
I believe they even went as far as to meet with his people out here. Like
that doesn't shock me.
Yeah, like it they were doing like beyond due diligence. They were doing real groundwork to like get a trade close. I don't know, I don't know how real those conversations get because, sometimes it's like you do your work and then you say like, we don't want to do this anyways. Like
you don't send medicals over unless you're trying to get a deal done. Like that's like information you want to keep close to your chest on that sort of thing.
Yeah, I would say like maybe if it didn't get to third base, they at least rounded second hard. The full sprint rounding second, or like, they were really, it was closer. Let's talk specifics of a trade, and let's talk. I got an idea. I bet you have one too. And what it would look like if the Blazers and Pels did something. And then I want to ask you, is this worth it? Is this a good idea? Join us in that third segment, won't you? Still a pass versus point guard, still Mike Richmond, still chatting here with Jake Madison of Locked On Pelicans. So we're still talking all things Zion Williamson and a hypothetical world where he ends up in Portland. Okay, give me your trade, Jake. What do you got?
All right. So look, there's a few things that are going to be kind of in this deal no matter what, right? Would kind of, unless we're breaking out into a 3-team deal, but let's keep it kind of simple here. I would assume for the most part, one of DeAndre Ayton, Jeremy Grant, or Simons is in this trade, right? Like almost has to be just to make the salaries work, right?
Yes.
So let me ask you this. Which of those three do you want gone the most out of those three?
Well, I think if you're the Blazers, it's Jeremy Grant because the money is so long. It's 3 years and over $100 million left. So it's like if you could get out from under that money, not only would it fix some sort of log jammy stuff with like where does Zion play? I'm not too worried about that. If you make this trade, you're frying a bigger fish, right? Like it's just different. But I think that gets you out from under the money. I don't think Jeremy Grant's particularly appealing specifically because
he's not though. No, his contract's definitely I would consider a negative in this sort of trade, right? And, like when we're trying to evaluate it.
Yeah, and I don't think Anfernee Simons fits because we've got Anfernee Simons at home. His name's CJ McCollum. Yeah. Now he's 5 years older or whatever, 7 years older. And he's also been better longer than Ant. I think he's a decade of scoring 20 points per game, baby. And he scored 40 points a couple times down the stretch for the Pelicans and almost ruined the tank. Get him out of here. Of here. No, but I don't think Simons, DeJounte Murray's going to miss a lot of next season.
I wouldn't expect him back till January would be my assumption kind of thing.
Yeah. So he's going to miss a lot. So they need guards, I guess, but like, I don't think Ant is ideal. So I think the one that makes the most sense is DeAndre Ayton somehow.
And the Pelicans need a center. I don't love Ayton on that contract, let's say. And he's not
expiring. It's the final year of his deal. Year of his deal. So you get to see what it looks like and decide if you want to continue to be in the business.
Okay, so like let's say one of DeAndre Ayton or Jeremy Grant's in the deal, right? Like, are you including Scoot Henderson in this trade?
So okay, I have one for you. You want me just to pitch it? Okay,
yeah. Go ahead.
Ring. I think trades usually don't happen like direct GM to GM. It's more like other people in the office calling. So assume this is like one of Joe Cronin's assistant GMs here, or one of the people in the front office calling one of Joe Dumars' new hires there. So my pitch to you is DeAndre Ayton, Scoot Henderson, and the Portland Trailblazers 2025 lottery pick. They can't trade it until after the draft. So you can't trade it pre-lottery. So you will know where it is. And like, if it's Cooper Flagg, obviously see ya.
Yeah, probably changes
even if it jumps into the top 4, I probably wouldn't be inclined to make that trade. But assuming that it stays at 10 or beyond, let's just say for our purposes here, I believe it's something like a 63% chance it stays at 10. So let's call it Ayton, Scoot, and 10 for Zion Williamson and Jose Alvarado.
Yeah. So like, that's kind of where I'm thinking about something like this, right? It basically was going to be DeAndre Ayton, Jeremy Grant, Scoot Henderson for Zion, whatever else you need to kind of make the salary. And like, as much as I love Jose right here, like fine, including him in a deal, but like I need picks coming back from Portland, at least one. If we're looking at a top 10 pick in this draft, which I think is a pretty good draft, yeah, I think like that's a totally fair deal for both sides. If it's Jeremy Grant, like I'm happy to include Jeremy Grant in there. It might need to be like an unprotected pick. Obviously, if it's like top 4, you're not going to give that up. But if it's, I guess it can't jump to 5 or 6 at that point, but something like that, right? Maybe you need to include a lottery protected future first somewhere down the line.
Yeah, the Blazers don't have a ton of future firsts, is why I didn't just naturally include one, because they owe a pick out to Chicago until 2028 on account of an extremely hubristic Larry Nance trade of the past. So they only have like 2029 picks and their own picks in 2030. And if I'm the Blazers, I'm probably not very inclined to trade picks like super far out yet.
No, but you could talk me into seconds. I think we found the core of the deal, and everything else is just kind of that like filler or sweetener to kind of get it over the line. But we're probably pretty close on something like this.
Okay, hold on. I have a trade machine open. No buzz marketing, but let me. Let me hold on.
Your ad read was great too.
Hey, thanks, man. I told you that I was going to make you sit through the ad read because I'm a pro, baby. Okay, here's the new updated insane trade. Here we go. Zion Williamson, Jose Alvarado, and Christian James McCollum. Welcome home, brother.
Okay, now we're getting wild.
Ayton, Jeremy Grant, Scoot Henderson, and the 10th pick in the 2025 draft, plus 3 future second-round picks. And we'll protect them in a bizarre way such that we can feel like we've protected ourselves. we'll do yeah.
I like that trade. Like I'd probably do that. Like I don't see a problem with that, right? Like you kind of thinking of it from New Orleans perspective of like, we got to be competitive. We're not bottoming out kind of thing here. Cool. Jeremy Grant slots into Zion's spot, or Trey Murphy slots into that spot, and you bring Jeremy Grant off the bench. That's fine. CJ's an expiring deal at this point. You've got it. It's not a long-term piece. So if you can get DeAndre Ayton, who's your new starting center, kind of call that one there too, right? Plus Scoot Henderson to kind of then replace CJ McCollum in all of this, and DeJounte Murray. And I think you're working on something there. Then it's just figuring out the picks to balance the scales evenly, and everyone is happy at that point in time. So I think that's kind of what you're looking at. Going a little crazy with CJ in there is kind of funny to me with everything. That's like the weirdest trade in my opinion. But no, like I think that's something that makes sense, right? CJ, while I've loved his time here, is like, if this team were to be fully healthy, let's say with DeJounte Murray and all that, and Zion Williamson next season, there's an argument to be made that CJ needs to come off the bench. So if the guy's going to come off the bench, like, you can just trade him and it's not killing you in that sense. When it comes to that, and that professionalism that he brings is actually like a very important thing. And I also think one of the underrated things about this, right? If you go back to that Zion Williamson season when he was out for the year, he went up to Portland. He went up to Nike to do a bunch of the rehab in there. He's a Jordan Brand guy. They've got a lot of money invested in him. And I'm sure they would love to see him back out on the court being the best version of himself, and putting some pressure on him and keeping him around like that group of people. I think it would probably be in everyone, including Zion's, best interest for that sort of thing.
Okay. You said something that my listeners are so mad about, and we've kind of skated on it for 2 minutes. You said everyone would be happy here. You know who's not happy? Is Locked On Blazers listeners. They're so mad right now. They're so upset. They're so mad
so sorry.
that I'm giving up
Locked
the
On
10th
Blazers
pick in the
listeners.
draft and Scoot Henderson for this absolute schlub in Zion Williamson. I want to close it here. Is he worth it? Is it like, if you are, from your perspective, you've seen him up close his whole career, right? Like you've covered the team for literally the entire Zion era very closely. Is he worth it? Is he someone that is worth trading away, a 21-year-old Scoot Henderson and a top 10 pick in the draft for? Like, is that the type of player he is and can be?
So it kind of comes down to, I've got two minds of this, right? Like one is, yes, what I have long said is if I was running the Pelicans, I would go down with the Zion ship trying to make that work, which is kind of what happened to David Griffin. Truthfully, I view David Griffin a little bit as like a victim of Zion Williamson and his lack of playing. So I would go down with the Zion ship because the dude, when he plays, is so unbelievably talented. As you said earlier, can be a top 15 player. You don't just find those guys. Like, you know, that top 10 pick you're giving up, you hope it can become Zion Williamson or somewhere.
Yeah, you hope it's
like
a starter, right? You hope it's an NBA starter. Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's what you're hope. The best case scenario is like not even at Zion's peak level when it comes to all that. So of course you do that sort of thing. So you rarely find these type of big difference makers like that. So yeah, of course he's worth it from that perspective. But the real question is, do you think he will mature? Do you think the Blazers could get through to him? Does maybe him getting traded kind of in his prime, like wake him up to this sort of thing, right? Like you hope that just the light bulb goes off. And the way I've described it is, you said I've covered him his whole career, and I have. And it's like, I've seen Zion 1.0. I've seen Zion 2.0. We're probably on like Zion 4.0 right now is what we saw this season. You know, is Zion 5.0 the one that plays 75 games this coming season? That's what you're hoping for. And it really comes down to whether you think he's going to do that or not. If you think you can get through to him and you can make that happen with your medical and training staff and all of those things, you know, maybe it's Chauncey Billups can get through to him in a way that Willie Green wasn't able to. If you think you can get through to him, you do this deal every time.
Yeah. I also have a couple ways to view this. One, I think it's like, this is the Blazers' cleanest shot in the next, 6 months probably, to trade for one of the best players in the league. And Zion comes with all the risks, but that's why he's specifically available and why he'd be available for what the Blazers have to offer, right? Like that's part of it.
If he was the Zion we thought he was going to be, he's untradeable at that point, right? You can't get him.
The Pelicans, if the reason that he's available is because of his baggage and because of his challenges, right? Like that's just it. So if you are saying like the Blazers got to trade for a really good player, this seems to be the path to do it. And that's why I think there's enough smoke and around it to make it palatable. I do think it's risky. And I do think if you are a fan listening to this and you hate that trade, that's fine. I think that's a pretty reasonable opinion to hold. I don't even know if I love it necessarily, but I think it's in the realistic ballpark. And I will say Jake also cooked up a very similar one. We were of the same mind. The other one here, and we'll leave it at this as we close up the show, is I think the real question is the Blazers is, should they be making a move like this? Is this summer, is the summer of 2025 when you hit the gas? At some point, yes, they need to hit the gas, right? They need to make some moves and take some risks and try to get good. Is that this summer? Because if you trade for Zion Williamson, you're in it. You are in the be competitive, very competitive over the next 3 years type of window, right? Because that's his contract length. You're trying to maximize the Zion Williamson window. So you really, all of a sudden the accelerator is down. And so it really changes your priorities. It changes your approach. And I'm not saying they shouldn't. What I'm wondering is it too early to do that considering who they are? I don't know. I think you could feel a bunch of different ways about it, because the thing the Blazers are missing right now is top end talent. But is it time to chase that top end talent now, or do you wait? And is waiting a mistake? I think there's a lot to balance here. And if Zion Williamson was a better player, you couldn't trade for him.
Yep.
So it's like if this is the deal available to you, that's what you're weighing, right? Because you're going to be trading for imperfection.
No, I agree on that, right? And you've also got to weigh it on like what other moves are you maybe going to be able to make in the future? That's what these front offices do. Like, people probably wonder, like, what do they do on like a random Wednesday? It's like they're running through future trade scenarios and who might want out and who could you get, and kind of balancing on that of what you could do today, right? Like, there's an actual opportunity cost to this sort of thing. And if you don't do it, are you going to find that person to hit the gas on in the future? And you might not. And other teams might outbid you for that kind of guy too. So if you have the chance to get a guy like this at a kind of a buy low price, right, you're going to have some bad contracts for the Blazers in that deal here, that maybe that's what makes it kind of worth it, that you just might not find something better. So you got to take what's in front of you, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's you're weighing the opportunity cost, and if if you the trades you don't make can haunt you for sure. The trades you make absolutely can haunt you, but the trades you don't make can, boy howdy. But the trades you don't make can haunt you for sure. I think that's real. Jake, thanks so much for taking the time and hanging out with us. I truly appreciate it.
Oh, of course. I'm always happy to be on here talking hoops, and I don't know. We're gonna see. It's gonna be an interesting offseason, man.
It is indeed. Like, both of these teams in a weird spot because they could make seismic moves or they could sort of run it back. And also, like, there's a draft lottery to be had, and the Pelicans are right up at the top, courtesy of a really miserable year for you to podcast about.
It was awful.
Go listen to Jake's show. He does a great job. Locked on Pelicans, just like this program, is 5 days a week, wherever you get podcasts, and also on YouTube. I appreciate you listening. We'll do 5 more of these next week. Tell your friends about the program. I'll talk to you soon.